Hello everyone and welcome to CadoinkStudios. I am Cadoink and I am here today with a game between one of my friends and his opponent diegogo. So we do have spawning in the bottom left corner of Shakuras Plateau Legendary. In all caps, Legendary is a very good friend of mine, and he used to be an incredible Gears of War player, and now he is a really good League of Legends player, and I've been trying to get him interested in StarCraft 2. And so he's decided to play as Protoss, which is a very excellent choice. And yeah, I'm really excited to cast this game. He did send this to me, and so I'm excited to see it and see what happens. And so his opponent is the Red Terran diegogo, who is queuing up SCVs and not rallying them to the mineral patch. Perhaps he is in Brood War mode where you have to send them yourself. Maybe he's just waiting. I don't know, he really needs to send though. There goes to put down his first supply depot. This is good. Should also send his second guy to the mineral patch as well as his third guy. On the other hand, the Legendary is being very good at chrono boosting and keeping his probes up. He went Assimilator first. I think this is pretty good. He's going Assimilator, and then he will put down his Gateway and then his Cybernetics Core shortly after that. Even though Legendary, hasn't played that many games of StarCraft, he does kind of have an idea of how the game is played. He has watched a lot of StarCraft, and so he knows some good builds, these sort of things. So this will be good for him as a starting player. He's in the Bronze League and working his way up, so he should have pretty strong builds behind his in his repertoire. Doing the good old scouting, killing off an SCV, which is a pretty big deal. Not necessarily in this level, but in general it's good if you can do some harassments with your scouting probe and pick off some SCVs, this sort of thing. So diegogo will be sending his SCV to kill off the scouting probe. Still not rallying his workers. Perhaps he doesn't know that you can do that. But he's going to be getting his barracks up after going double gas. This isn't quite the most optimal build, but it is Bronze League, so it is alright. He will be experimenting with his builds and seeing if he can improve. In the meantime, Legendary is getting his Cybernetics Core out, which is good. He's also getting his first Zealot, so he will have a unit before diegogo gets his first Marine. So this will work out pretty well in his favor. Also continuing to build probes and continuing to chrono boost, getting a little bit supply blocked, but still, the three most important things about starting StarCraft 2 is remembering to build your probes, remembering to build your pylons, and remembering to build units. And so the fact that Legendary was thinking about building probes, especially 4 minutes into the game, is very important because a lot of players tend to forget that. If we look at the unit counting station, we see it is 16 probes to 10 SCVs, where the Terran player should pretty much be kept up with the Protoss player at this point, even though there are chrono boosts, and the Terran player should also have mules out by this point. So Legendary is being very good at remembering his probes, and he did throw down 3 pylons, which it's okay to do at this level of play. When you get supply block, go ahead and put 2 down instead of the 1 you need, and then from that point on try to remember to put down pylons at a consistent pace. That way you don't ever get to the point where you have to throw down 2 or 3 pylons at once. Going back to the production tab, we see that Legendary is getting his warp gate up while his opponent is just going to be doing some turtling, getting some bunkers. Nothing wrong with this at all. If you ever feel insecure, feel like you're in danger, go ahead and get those bunkers up. It will be really useful in the long run, especially if an early attack comes. Also opting to get that armor. I like that choice. Zealots attack twice. So it is really beneficial to get the armor because you're kind of cutting each of those attacks in half. I don't know, it's a good upgrade to get against Protoss, and I like that diegogo is thinking about upgrades. I'd like to see him start building some units. He is getting his first Marauder out right now. Marauder's very, very good against Protoss. Another thing is that you should not queue up units like this. It's not a good thing to do because this is 100 minerals that could be spent on something else, maybe getting another barracks or getting another upgrade. such as stim or concussive shell. But he's also getting a factory up and getting some turrets to make sure there's no silly DT play. I like this by diegogo. So he's got some of the things on the right track. In the meantime, Legendary's getting up some more gateways. This is always so good. You don't need just one gateway, you need like 10 gateways. And of course not on one base, you can't really afford 10 or support 10. But it is good to continually build gateways so that way you can have units just cranking out. One thing, however, is he did start researching hallucination, which means he knows warp gate is finished, so he really needs to change these into warp gates. It'll allow him to warp in units a lot quicker. But this is another thing I like by Legendary. He's going ahead and pushing out. He scouted with the scouting probe, and now he's pushing out. And maybe he's hoping to do some damage, but he doesn't really need to do any damage, because I mean, he has a strong economy, he's getting up his natural, he's continuing to produce units, and so he's just going to poke up and see what diegogo has. And so he's going to wait for these 2 zealots and the sentry to show up, and then he'll push up this ramp. However, this is where I was talking about this building bunkers being good, because 3 marauders against this little force could probably die, especially with good micro, and considering the fact that diegogo does not have concussive shell. 2 stalkers, 2 zealots, and a sentry can do some damage, especially if you can get a force field out. Maybe even use your guardian shield. Could kill 3 marauders. So these bunkers are going to be very useful, and I don't suspect Thomas doing any damage here. Moving forward a little bit, trying to target one of the bunkers. This is a good decision. However, unluckily he targeted the bunker that only has 1 marauder in it, rather than the one that has 2. So he will pick this marauder out, pick it off, but ooh, accidentally pulling a little too soon. It's a very common mistake. Does, however, get the marauder, but diegogo will live for another day. diegogo really should be building units right now and continuing his SCV production. Might even want to take an expansion. That's just a general good thing to do. A better decision would be just to plop down 5 barracks and start producing. His money, however, is really low, as he still is only on 11 SCVs to Legendary's 30. So Legendary is continuing to chrono boost and build probes, which is very good. Also, you can see that his chrono boost energy is really low. Only 27 on this Nexus, only 11 on this one. So he has kept that up throughout the game. That's very good. However, he should be building probes out of this, and he shouldn't queue up like he had before. Rather than building a bunch of probes here, just build 1 here, and then build 1 here as well. But this is another thing I like by Legendary. He doesn't really know if diegogo is going anything like Banshees, or if he's going to have any drops coming. So it's never a bad decision to just plop down a few cannons, just to make sure that your mineral line is a little better protected. He also got this forge, so he needs to be using it, and these cannons are one way of using it. And I also like how he's getting his upgrades as well. His money is floating a little bit high, so I'd like to see Legendary throw down a few more gateways. He still hasn't turned these into warp gates, which he really should have done 6 minutes ago, to be honest. But his unit production in general is good. So that's an important thing. Even though you're not building your warp gate, or not using your warp gate, you're at least still producing probes. You're at least still producing units, and you're even getting upgrades. So you're doing a lot better than many players when they start out. The other thing is he is a little supply blocked at this time, so he really needs to watch out for that and make sure he's putting down pylons at a consistent pace. That's something that's very hard to master. Even in Diamond League, which is where I am right now, I sometimes have trouble remembering supply depots way late into the game. But eventually, after you've warmed up for the day and started playing several games, you get into this rhythm and you just kind of know when you got to put those down. And so Legendary is doing the very good thing right now, putting down more gateways. Also, he should start thinking about turning these into warp gates. I imagine he'll do that soon. Perhaps he just forgot. However, it's not the worst mistake. We can see he's producing things, and this is very good. diegogo, on the other hand, is he's still turtling up. He's building tanks. He doesn't have siege mode, however. He really needs to get that up. Definitely one of the most important upgrades for a Terran player especially if you're going tanks. And also, he's just not producing anything. He has one factory, he has one barracks. He really should be producing a few more. He does have a starport, so he has teched up a little bit. But he really just does not have enough money. He's not continuing to produce SCVs. And you know what? This is something that every new player does. I remember when I was in 3rd, 4th grade, I had Brood War, and I would just stop at like 10 SCVs, and then I try to tech straight up to nuke. I want to nuke so bad. I spent like days trying to get enough money or live long enough in a game to build a nuke and set it off just so I could see what it looked like. And eventually I started saying, hey, I want to play StarCraft competitively, and I got with a group of people and they were like, you know what, you don't have to stop making SCVs, you can just continue to produce them. In fact, you need to continue to produce them to have a good economy. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense, and then my games got increasingly better. So my one advice to diegogo is don't stop building SCVs. Don't ever stop. We can see that he's not using any hotkeys, so just hotkey your command center at 5, and every couple seconds go 5S. 5S, you know? Even if you queue a little bit, you're at least building more SCVs than you would be if you know, than you are at this state of the game. In the meantime, Legendary has so much money because he's just been so good at his SCV or his probe production. He has 59 probes, very cool. So he's going to throw down 3 robotics facilities. I like this. You know, if you have that much money, just go crazy. Just build tons of unit producing structures. And he has also finally built his warp gates, so he will be able to warp units right on the field, which he's doing right now. He has 6 in total, as well as 3 robotics facilities, so he should be producing units soon. Hopefully he'll be getting a robotics bay up so that he can get those ever important colossi. Colossi are incredibly good in TVP. One bit of advice for Legendary: his probe line is oversaturated. One thing you can do while you're playing is just select all your probes like this, and if you have 2 pages like this, you've gone a little bit too far. You have 8 mineral patches at each of your bases, and you really want 2 to 3 probes per mineral patch. So anywhere between 16 and 24 probes, not including the gas probes. So any more than that is a little bit oversaturated. And in case you guys didn't know, there are 3 rows and 8 rows. So it's 3 by 8. So this is 24. So really, if you have 2 pages, you have too many. Another thing, make sure you have units getting gas. When you have a lot of money and you have very little gas, you want to make sure that all your assimilators are going. And then when you have this much money, just take like 4 expansions. Take like 2 or 3 expansions, and then build a ton of unit producing structures. Just try to kill your money as fast as you can. And we can see that Legendary is trying to do this. He's building 3 immortals at a time. He also has the robotics bay up, so he will be able to get those upgrades as well as the colossi. And then he's also getting his forge upgrade. No, actually he's getting Protoss Air. Interesting. Regardless, it's always a good decision to be spending your money. And so I like this by Legendary. He's also taking an expansion, which it kind of seems counterintuitive to a new player, like, I have too much money, why would I take an expansion? And the truth is, eventually, you're going to run out of minerals in your main, you're going to run out of minerals in your gas, in your nat. I said main when I was looking at the nat, but we can see the Legendary has run out of minerals in his main. And so, when this sort of thing happens, you eventually can burn out of money. If you have like 10, 12 gateways, and you're just constantly producing units, you'll eventually run through this 4,000, especially with 3 robotics facilities, building 3 immortals at once, and then eventually 3 colossi at once. You're going to burn through a lot of money. And then the other thing is gas, you know. He's not getting any gas in this base. He's only getting gas out of his main. And so, because of that, his gas is really low. It's only at 200 minerals, or 200 gas. And so that's another reason why taking expansions are very, very important. In the meantime, diegogo is building up some Vikings. This is actually pretty good against Colossi, so if Legendary does decide to start building Colossi, these Vikings will be able to do a lot of damage. diegogo not building any SCVs. I would really love to see him build SCVs. We can see the supply difference is huge, 158 to 52. So yeah, that's one of the biggest things in these newer leagues is you gotta continue to build units. You gotta continue to build SCVs, and you know what? Don't feel bad about it. There's no hard feelings or anything. This is something that every new player does. Something I always did. Had small amounts of units, and eventually, as you start to pick up on these things and figure these things out, you get a lot better at. You get a lot better at StarCraft. Kind of losing my train of thought. Also, these mules, you can cast them right down in the mineral patch. If you just hit E and then click the mineral patch, which I actually don't know what E is doing. It's making a noise, but it will. The mule will go straight down to the mineral patch. So that's a good bit of advice. Legendary right now is producing 3 Colossi at a time, which is awesome. He'll probably be pushing out any time now. I'd like to see him scouting a little bit more, making sure you're moving your units around and checking for secret bases, extra bases. A lot of new players will sneak a base right here, even sneak a base right here. So you got to make sure you're being active with that. I'd also like to see an observer out on the field. Observers are so useful. With 3 of these, you could build 3 observers at once, chrono boost them. They don't take that much time, 40 seconds, and then chrono boosted is much less. And then you could have 1 observer here, 1 observer here, and then you could have 1 observer floating around the map. And that'll give you plenty of vision, plenty of knowledge. And so now we see that Legendary is moving out with his force. He will be pushing diegogo here in a minute, I do believe. He is capped at 200-200, which is awesome. Also building 2 Stargates. I like this decision by Legendary. If this whole entire army died in some way, you have enough money, you can just produce out of a ton of structures. So you can continue to produce out of these 3 robotics facilities, you can continue to produce out of the 6 gateways, and then you can even produce out of these 3 Stargates. And since Legendary has been getting his level 1 weapon armor, he will be able to, his air units will be upgraded. diegogo landing his Vikings and having a ton of Marauders. However, Legendary's army is just so massive, and these Immortals are just tanking the damage from the Marauders. And now diegogo is in a lot of trouble lifting his command center, which is very good. He knows he can't save it, so he will be able to run it away. Legendary, in the meantime, is clearing this out and also clearing out these bunkers with the Colossus range. Colossus range is so good, so useful. And so he's able to pick off those bunkers. And now we see he's just coming in with some Zealots and trying to pick off a few tanks. And eventually he will be running his main force into diegogo's base. diegogo building a Thor at this time, but I don't know if it'll be able to do enough. Even has a fusion core. We can see that these turrets are actually helping him out, killing off these Colossi, picking off 1. But at this point, the game is over for diegogo. You cannot come back from this at all in any kind of way. 8 supply to 193. Yeah. But look at this. This is a very good and interesting note. Even while Legendary is doing this attack, he's still building a probe. And that seems very trivial. The game is completely over. I mean, if he wanted to, he could take his probes and start making them kill each other. But just to be in good practice and to say, like, even though I know I'm going to win, I'm going to continue to be sure I'm building probes, is just such an excellent mindset for StarCraft 2, because it makes sure that you're continuing to work on your mechanics even though you know the game is over. And so Legendary did win that. Very good job, Legendary. I'm very proud of you. This I believe is your first win. I think he sent this to me in an email saying this was his first win. So I'm very excited for that. I remember my first win. It's just a really good feeling when you finally nail it. And yeah, just continue to play like you're playing and continue to ladder, playing a few games every day, and you'll start to get really good. You're already miles ahead of where I started when I first played StarCraft. And so, very good game, Legendary, and very valiant try, diegogo. I would just say to you, continue to build SCVs and continue to build units. It's a general rule of thumb, keep your money below 500. If you're doing that and you're constantly building, you're miles ahead of everyone. That's just such a good mindset to have. So anyway, this was kind of a cast / analysis. There's a lot of space in the middle where not too much action was going on. So I think I might do a few more videos like this where I kind of do analysis for players. And so if you guys would like me to analyze your replays and talk about it, or cast them, I'll do both, either or. Please send me some replays. You can send those to CadoinkStudios at gmail.com, or I'd prefer it if you send it to CadoinkReplays at gmail.com, which a link will be in the description. And yeah, just tell me in the email, say, hey, this was a game I played, let me know what league you're in, and let me know whether you'd like me to cast the game or whether you'd like me to analyze the game and kind of go into detail what kind of things you could do better. I'm not the best player, obviously. I'm just in Diamond League, but I do know a good bit. I watch a lot of StarCraft, and so I can definitely help you out where needed. Another thing is check out sc2clans.org. It is a website that is going to be putting together clan battles, tournaments, this sort of thing. It's going to be really cool, so you can sign up with a group of your friends, and I should be casting that with Boisterous. Boisterous and I do a lot of co-casts together, so you should check out his channel as well. It is Boisterous SC2, so you can go to youtube.com/user/BoisterousSC2, or you can check out some of the co-casts we did on my channel, and there are links to his channel in the description. So yeah, just check out more videos, continue to comment and like, and subscribe. Please subscribe. Yeah, so thank you for watching the video, and we will see you guys later.